Crownlands. It was never a sovereign nation, instead being contested by river kings, storm kings, and local petty kings until Aegon the Conqueror seized control of the area during his wars of conquest and made it his primary foothold on the continent. Since then, the Crownlands have been ruled directly from the Iron Throne, first by the House Targaryen, and after Robert's Rebellion by House Baratheon. Bastards of noble origin raised in the Crownlands are given the surname Waters. Most of King Robert's bastards have that surname for sure. House Brune of Brownhollow. It is a house of landed knights. Their seat, Brownhollow, is located in Crackclaw Point, a peninsula jutting out into the narrow sea. The land is full of cavernous hills and bogs and pine barrens, thick and deciduous trees and evergreens like sentinels and soldier pines. Moss covers ancient ruined strongholds throughout the region. These lands are full of myths considering the Squishers, creatures who appear human, but according to legend, their heads are larger than those of men, and they have scales instead of hair. They have webbing between their fingers and toes, while their mouths have rows of green, needle-like teeth. A squisher's belly is like that of a fish. Their name comes from the squish-squish sound made when they move on their webbed feet. The first men are said to have killed all of the squishers, but some residents of Crackclaw claim that squishers still come by night to steal bad children, saving girls to breed and boys to eat. Some or even all members of House Burrell of the Three Sisters have webbed hands and toes similar to the feet of ducks, which they call the mark. It is unknown if this is a genetic disorder or if they have a connection with squishers. It is likely the stories of squishers are related to the Deep Ones. The majority of Crackclaw's population is descended from the first men. Every valley has a lord and all of them distrust outsiders. Andals tried to conquer the peninsula, but they were defeated by their lack of knowledge of the area. Eventually, the Andals learned that what they could not conquer with swords, they could through marriage. During the War of Conquest, Visenya Targaryen won the allegiance of the Lords of Crackclaw Point, and because they surrendered peacefully, they were sworn directly to the Targaryens of King's Landing. The region has since been known as Targaryen loyalists. The Brownhollow Brunes are presumably a catted branch of House Brune of the Diredan. House Brune of the Diredan. It is a noble house whose seat, Diredan, lies at the end of the road from Maidenpool, on a cliff overlooking the Bay of Crabs. It is a small castle with 3 crooked towers. House Crab, a noble house from the Crownlands, sworn to King's Landing. Its lands are found on Crackclaw Point. A former seat of the house is the Whispers, a castle ruined for over a millennium. Sir Clarence Crab was a legendary hero from the Crackclaw Point area. He was 8 feet tall and strong enough to uproot trees and throw them half a mile. He was so heavy that only an aurochs could carry him. His seat, the Whispers, is allegedly named for the severed heads he collected and brought back to his wife, who raised them from the dead. These heads, pirates, lords, wizards, and knights, were used as counselors and would whisper among themselves. House Crab produced some fine knights. 3 members served in the Kingsguard: Sir Clement Crab, Sir Rupert Crab, and Sir Clarence the Short. House Celtigar of Clawile. They are historically sworn to Dragonstone within the Crownlands. It is an ancient and proud house with the blood of old Valyria in its veins. Crispian Celtigar served as Master of Coin for Aegon First Targaryen. The Celtigars claim dominion over Crackclaw Point, but the inhabitants of Peninsula do not acknowledge their claim. The Celtigars occasionally send men to Crackclaw Point to collect taxes, and if Lord Celtigar sends enough collectors, a few can even come back to him. The Celtigar's castle is rumored to hold fabulous treasures that bear witness to their wealth. Among Lord Ardrian Celtigar's property, there are Mirish carpets, Volantine glass, gold and silver plate, jeweled cups, magnificent hawks, a trained sea eagle, an axe of Valyrian steel, chest of rubies, a horn said to summon krakens from under the sea, and many fine wines. House Staunton of Rook's Rest. House Buckwall of the Antlers. So as the other houses of Crownlands, Buckwalls fought for the Targaryens during Robert's Rebellion. The words of House Buckwall are pride and purpose, but one does not tell about the houses of the Crownlands without mentioning the defiance of Duskendale that led to extinction of House Darklyn and fall of House Hollard. The defiance of Duskendale took place during the reign of King Aerys II Targaryen, when, according to the small folk, Lord Denys Darklyn was convinced by his wife, Lady Sarala of Myr, to take Aerys captive. House Hollard, which had served House Darklyn during the defiance and had a close relationship with their lords, were tainted and had their lands taken, the castle torn down, and its members also executed. Only young Dantas Hollard was spared because Sir Barristan asked for mercy towards him. House Darklyn of Duskendale ruled the town of Duskendale and the surrounding lands in the Crownlands for centuries. Their keep was the Aegon Fort at the top of a hill that dominates the town. The lordly Darklyns are now extinct as a result of the defiance of Duskendale. The Hand of the King, Lord Tywin Lannister, assembled an army that could easily storm the town, but Lord Denys threatened that he would kill the king as soon as the attack started. Aerys was held prisoner for half a year, with Tywin's army waiting outside Duskendale. The situation remained invariable until Sir Barristan Solmy of the Kingsguard entered the Aegon Fort and rescued the king. Having lost his hostage, Lord Denys had no other option than to surrender at once. He bent the knee and begged for mercy, but the king demanded his head and all his families. Lord Denys, his brothers and his sister, uncles and cousins were beheaded. Lady Sarala, called the Lace Serpent for the supposed poison of her words, was burned alive after her tongue and her female parts were torn out, with which it was said that she had enslaved her lord husband. A pity end for the house that was once closest allies of the Targaryens, to the point that 7 sons of Darklyn joined the Kingsguard more than any other house, a fact which is referred to in the Darklyn's coat of arms. Sir Robin Darklyn was one of the first members of the Order. Some tend to think that Denys Darklyn's wife evoked the arrogance in her husband that his family had suppressed since the time of the 100 Kingdoms, when Darklyns claimed the mouth of the Blackwater Rush before Aegon's conquest. House Ricker of Duskendale. They received Duskendale and the seat of House Darklyn, the Aegon Fort, following the defiance of Duskendale and the fall of House Darklyn. Aegon Fort is a large castle that overlooks the town of Duskendale. It has a large square keep and big drum towers. Duskendale is a large port town off the coast of Blackwater Bay. The town spreads out around the harbor and has cobbled streets. The gatehouse opens to a market square. South of the town is a rocky headland that shelters the harbor from the storms of the narrow sea, and north of it rise chalk cliffs. A road runs beside the shore between the grey-green sea and low limestone hills. Fishing villages dot the road for miles. House Storkworth of Stokeworth. Falena Stokeworth was the first of King Aegon IV Targaryen's famous mistresses. The words of House Storkworth are proud to be faithful. House Rosby of Rosby. House Rosby was one of the first houses to yield peacefully to House Targaryen during the War of Conquest, surrendering to Rhaenys Targaryen and Dragon Meraxes. Lord Rosby was named Aegon's Warden of the Sands during the First Dornish War, but he was killed in the defenestration of Sunspear. House Hayford of Hayford. Castle Hayford sits upon a hilltop and has a stream running alongside the castle. The current head of the house is Lady Ermesonde Hayford, a baby and the last of her line. Ermesonde is made to marry Tyrek Lannister, so the Lannisters can claim her lands. House Wendwater of Kingswood. The words of House Wendwater are for all seasons. House Massey of Stonedance. Located on the Massey's Hook Peninsula, Stonedance was founded by Lord Malden Massey during the reign of the Storm King Doran the Ravenfrand. Later, although sworn to King Argilac the Arrogant of Storm's End, Lord Tristan Massey had stronger ties to Lord Aegon Targaryen of Dragonstone. So the Masseys supported the Targaryens during Aegon's War of Conquest. The castle became part of the newly created Crownlands, owing allegiance to the Targaryens of King's Landing. House Barhamon of Sharp Point. Sharp Point has a large watchtower upon which a great fire burns atop. Targaryen Baraman was an Andal warlord who founded a small kingdom north of the Blackwater Rush during the Andal invasion, but he was opposed by the more powerful Darklands of Duskendale. Targaryen married the daughter of King Joshua Massey of Stonedance, himself a rival to the Storm King Carlton II Durrandon, and the Baramans abandoned the Blackwater for Massey's Hook. Although Carlton Durrandon defeated Joshua, Targaryen drove the Stormlanders from Stonedance, built Sharp Point as the new seat for House Baraman, and established a kingdom on Massey's Hook with the son of Joshua as a puppet. The region was eventually recovered by the Stormlands, however. Prior to the War of Conquest, House Baraman was sworn to House Durrandon, the Storm Kings from Storm's End, but had closer ties to House Targaryen of nearby Dragonstone. When Aegon the Conqueror launched his invasion of Westeros, the Baramans supported him instead of the Storm King, Argilac the Arrogant. With the creation of the Crownlands after the conquest, the Baramans became sworn to Dragonstone instead of House Baratheon of Storm's End, who had replaced the Durrandons. House Valerian of Driftmark. Driftmark is the largest island of Blackwater Bay in the Crownlands. Valerian castles include Driftmark and Hightide. The head of House Valerian is titled Lord of the Tides and Master of Driftmark. House Valerian is of Valyrian descent, and its members often have Valyrian features, such as silver hair, purple eyes, and pale skin. The Valerians left Valyria before the Targaryens. The castle of Driftmark housed their ancient high seat, the Driftwood Throne, which according to legend had been given to them by the Merling King to conclude a pact. Their close proximity to the gullet, the stretch of water between Dragonstone and Driftmark, enabled the Valerians to fill their coffers from trade in the Narrow Sea and Blackwater Bay. They allied with the House Targaryen from Dragonstone and House Celtigar from Claw Isle, both houses of Valyrian descent. While the Valerians and Celtigars dominated the middle reaches of the Narrow Sea with their ships, the Targaryens ruled the skies with their dragons. The close relations between House Valerian and Targaryen resulted in multiple marriages between the houses, both before and after the Wars of Conquest. From one such marriage was born Valaena Valerian. She married Aerion Targaryen, the Lord of Dragonstone, with whom she had 3 children, Visenya, Aegon, and Rhaenys. House Valerian allied with the Targaryens at the start of Aegon's conquest. Lord Daemon Valerian was made master of ships by Aegon the Conqueror after the mouth of the Blackwater Rush had been secured. Daemon died fighting for Aegon first in the battle in the waters of Gulltown, however. The Valerians frequently served as master of ships, so often that at times the office had been seemed hereditary, and they also provided much of the Iron Throne's royal fleet. Lucerys Valerian served as master of ships for King Aerys II Targaryen, being one of the king's bigger supporters against his son Rhaegar, the Prince of Dragonstone. During Robert's rebellion, when Rhaegar and Aerys were killed, the Loyalist fleet anchored at Dragonstone was destroyed by the terrible summer storm, which raged during the birth of Daenerys Targaryen. The new king, Robert I Baratheon, granted Dragonstone to his brother Stannis, so the Valerians are now sworn to House Baratheon of Dragonstone. The words of House Valerian are, the old, the true, the brave. Spicetown was destroyed at the start of the Dance of the Dragons. The people of Spicetown heard the shriek of Vermox when the dragon was wounded during the battle in the Gullet. The victorious Greens sacked the town, butchering its populace and burning its buildings. Spicetown was not rebuilt. Hull is a town on the island of Driftmark in the Crownlands. So is the Spicetown. It was used as a harbor by Lord Corlys Valerian, the Sea Snake, during the start of the Dance of the Dragons. Dragonstone is a castle located on the island of the same name at the entrance to Blackwater Bay. 2 centuries before the Valyrian Doom, Valyrians took possession of the island and built a castle upon it, which became the westernmost outpost of the Valyrian freehold. The castle towers were shaped by Valyrian magic to look like dragons to make the castle look fearsome, and placed 1,000 gargoyles upon the walls. 12 years prior to the Doom of Valyria, Aenar Aegon Targaryen, the head of House Targaryen, relocated his family, their 5 dragons and all their wealth to Dragonstone after his maiden daughter Daenerys predicted the destruction of the Valerian freehold. In Valyria, their rivals saw this as an act of cowardly surrender. 4 of the dragons brought from Valyria eventually died in Dragonstone, leaving only Valerian. However, 2 eggs hatched and Hagar and Meraxes were born. Aenar ruled as the first Lord of Dragonstone and was succeeded by his son, Gaemon the Glorious. Gaemon's children, Aegon and Elaena, ruled together as kin and a couple, and were succeeded by their own son, Magon, and later Magon's younger brother, Aerys. Aerys's 3 sons, Aelix, Balon, and Daemion, ruled Dragonstone in turn, after which Daemon's son Aerion inherited the seat. His only son, by Lady Valaena Valerian, Aegon Targaryen, was the last Lord of Dragonstone before War of the Conquest. After Robert's rebellion, King Robert I Baratheon named his younger brother Stannis the Lord of Dragonstone, instead of Lord to the wealthier Storm's End, which was given to their younger brother Renly, who was only a young child at the time. Stannis resented this and believed it to be an intentional slight. Dragonstone is a grim place. The castle was built by the Valyrians using arcane arts, fire and sorcery. The Dragonlords used their magic to shape the castle to look like multiple dragons. Smaller dragons can be found throughout the castle. Small dragons frame gates and dragon claws hold torches. A pair of great wings cover the armory and smithy, and dragon tails form archways and staircases. The Citadel of Dragonstone is wrought all of black stone. Instead of merlins, grotesques and gargoyles serve as brooding crenellations along the 3 curtain walls. Beside dragons, designs include basilisks, demons, griffins, hellhounds, manticores, minotaurs, wyverns, and other creatures. Notable locations at Dragonstone include the Stone Drum, a massive tower which serves as the central keep of Dragonstone, named for the booming and rumbling sounds that can be heard during storms. To reach the Stone Drum from the Sea Dragon Tower, one must cross the gallery and pass through the middle and inner walls. A high stone-roofed bridge arching from emptiness leads from the Stone Drum to the entrance towards the dungeons. The Sea Dragon Tower, one of Dragonstone's towers, shaped like a dragon gazing out across the sea. The Maester's chambers are located in this tower below the rookery. The turnpike stairs at the tower are narrow and twisting. The chamber of the Painted Table, located on the top floor of the Stone Drum. The chamber of the Painted Table is a round room with 4 tall windows overlooking the north, south, east, and west, and bare black walls. It holds a large table, the Painted Table, carved and painted in the form of a detailed map of Westeros. Here, Aegon the Conqueror planned for the invasion of Westeros. The Painted Table is more than 50 feet long, roughly 25 feet wide at its widest point and 4 feet at its thinnest. At the precise location of Dragonstone is a raised seat that allows the occupant to view the entire map. The Great Hall. The Great Hall is carved in the shape of a huge dragon lying on its belly. Its doors are set in the mouth and those entering pass through its mouth. The kitchens resemble a curled-up dragon where the smoke and heat vented through its nostrils. The Windworm, one of Dragonstone's towers, shaped like a dragon which seems to scream. Aegon's garden can be reached when going down after the arch of the dragon's tail. Within grow tall dark trees, wild roses and cranberries. The garden has a pleasant piney scent. The Sap of Dragonstone, dedicated to the faith of the Seven, contains statues representing the 7 aspects of the 7 gods, carved from the mast of the ship that had carried the first Targaryens from Valyria, but have frequently been repainted since then. The statue of the crone has pearl eyes, the father a gilded beard, and the stranger looks more animal than human. King's Landing is the capital of the 7 kingdoms. The main city is surrounded by a wall, manned by the City Watch of King's Landing, also known as the Gold Cloaks. King's Landing is the most populous city in Westeros, but unsightly and dirty compared to other cities. Poorer small folk built shanty settlements outside the city. The stench of the city's waste can be smelled far beyond its walls. King's Landing, the principal harbor of the Seven Kingdoms, is rivaled only by Old Town, which is larger in area but less populous. King's Landing has the highest population in the Seven Kingdoms, but it is smaller than towns in Assas such as Selhoris, Valisar, and Volunteris, let alone the Free Cities. Prior to Aegon's conquest, the area around the future King's Landing was just hills and forests, with only a handful of fisherfolk living north of the Blackwater Rush. The mouth of the river had historically been claimed by Blackwoods, Brackens, Docklands, Fishers, Hooks, Massies, and Mudds. 300 years ago, Aegon the Conqueror from House Targaryen led his army from Dragonstone and landed at the mouth of the Blackwater Rush, building his first fortress of wood and earth, the Aegon Fort, on top of the highest hill. When Aegon finalized his conquest and was crowned Lord of the Seven Kingdoms, many expected that he would make Dragonstone or Old Town his capital. He unexpectedly decided to build his capital in the new town growing around the Aegon Fort, since it was more centrally located than any other and not part of the former kingdoms, setting the king apart from his new vassals. Aegon established the Kingsguard after he and Visenya were attacked in the streets 10 years after the conquest. Aegon foresaw the King's Landing would surpass Old Town or Lannisport. Trade shifted from Duskendale and Maidenpool, and only 25 years after the conquest, King's Landing had become the realm's third largest city, ahead of White Harbor and Galtown. The following year, Grand Maester Gavin and Sir Osmond Strong completed the city walls and 7 gates. The city was expanded by Aegon's successors. The Red Keep, which replaced the Aegon Fort, was completed during the reign of Maegor I Targaryen. During the Faith Militant Uprising, their forces seized the Sap of Remembrance and the Red Keep, which was then under construction. Maegor the Cruel used Balerian's dragonfire to destroy the Sept and began construction of the Dragon Pit atop its ruins. Approximately 100 years after the conquest, aided by Sept and Barf, Jaehaerys the Conciliator encouraged the building of drains, sewers, and wells in the city, which also became connected with other regions by the King's Road, Gold Road, and Rose Road. At the beginning of the Dance of the Dragons, King's Landing was held by King Aegon II Targaryen, but later the city fell to Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen and her Blacks. Later in the same year, riots broke out against the rule of Rhaenyra. These culminated in the mass storming of the Dragon Pit, the deaths of 5 Targaryen dragons and thousands of small folk, and the destruction of the Dragon Pit. Rhaenyra abandoned the city, which fell into chaos, and met her doom at Dragonstone. The civil war ended with Aegon III Targaryen succeeding Aegon II, and Lord Cregan Stark briefly held court during the Hour of the Wolf that lasted 6 days. The Mad King largely remained within the Red Keep after the defiance of Duskendale, and, disgusted with King's Landing, considered building a new marble city on the southern shore of the Blackwater Rush. During Robert's Rebellion, also called the War of the Usurper, Aerys sent Queen Rhaella Targaryen, pregnant with Princess Daenerys, with Prince Viserys to Dragonstone after King's Landing was informed of Prince Rhaegar's death at the Trident. 7 is a sacred number for the faith. Thus, Aegon I Targaryen had 7 huge gates built at the entrances into the capital of King's Landing. Each is protected by portcullis, heavy doors, and armed guard. Dragon Gate leads north to the King's Road. Lion Gate leads west to the Gold Road. Old Gate, River Gate, known as the Mud Gate by the population of the city, leads south to the King's Road and the Rose Road. It connects Fishmonger's Square and the wharfs on the Blackwater Rush. Gate of the Gods, King's Gate, outside of which are tourney grounds. Iron Gate leads to the Rosby Road. The Great Sept of Baelor, located on Visenya's Hill. It is the holiest sept of the 7. The Dragon Pit, a huge dome now collapsed that used to hold the Targaryen dragons. Its bronze doors have not been opened for more than a century. It is found on the Hill of Rhaenys. Flea Bottom, slum area of King's Landing, a downtrodden area of town. It has a stench of pigsties and stables, wine sinks, and whorehouses. On the other side of Rhaenys Hill lies the prestigious area of King's Landing. The Guildhall of the Alchemists beneath the Hill of Rhaenys, stretching right to the foot of Visenya's Hill along the Street of Sisters. Beneath it is where the alchemists create and store the wildfire. The Red Keep. After the completion of the conquest, Aegon ordered the construction of a permanent royal castle on the hill where he raised Aegon Fort previously. The construction was completed during the reign of Maegor I Targaryen, who killed all those who worked on the castle to preserve its secrets. The Barbican, main entrance of the Red Keep, featuring bronze doors and a portcullis, and a side postern. The outdoor courtyard where smaller tournaments may be carried on, and to which access is generally allowed to the people. The council chamber, the kitchens, which no longer serves food during the reign of Robert Baratheon. Top floor of the building was reconstructed into vast and luxurious apartments. The kitchens of the Red Keep in front of the hostel kitchens. The Grand Hall, which serves the king's receptions and can accommodate nearly 1,000 guests. The Great Hall is the throne room of the king. The Iron Throne sits on a raised iron dais with high and narrow steps. A long carpet stretches from the throne to the hall's great oak and bronze doors. The hall itself is cavernous and can sit 1,000 people. It is oriented north to south with high, narrow windows on the eastern and western walls. Skulls of the Targaryen dragons once adorned the walls, but Robert Baratheon had them replaced with hunting tapestries at the beginning of his reign. The godswood at the Red Keep is an acre of elm, alder, and black cottonwood trees. The heart tree is a great oak whose limbs have become overgrown with smokeberry vines. The apartment of Varys, the armory, kennels, the courtyard, with access from the outside courtyard protected by a drawbridge. The small hall. It can accommodate only 100 guests. The Tower of the Hand. It is a large tower that can accommodate the Hand and his household, and that has several barracks below. The kitchens of the Little Gallery. The Royal Sept. The Maiden Vault. It is a long slate-roofed building located behind the Royal Sept. Its entry has 2 tall carved doors. Baelor I Targaryen confined his sisters there, claiming it would prevent any carnal thoughts. The stables, the pigsty, the barracks of the Goldcloaks, the Serpentine Steps, the lower courtyard, and other stables. White Sword Tower, slender building located on the side of the Bay of the Blackwater. The ground floor serves as a meeting room for the Royal Guard. It has a white table shaped like a shield supported by 3 white stallions. The basement is a storehouse for weapons and armor. It is the first and second floors of small rooms for the 6 extra members of the guard. The Lord Commander is granted with the exclusivity of the 3rd floor. The rookery over the apartments of the Grand Maester. Maegor's Holdfast, the heart of the fortress, castle in the castle, surrounded by a dry moat and bristling with pikes crossed by a drawbridge, where are located the royal apartments and the Queen's ballroom, private reception hall of the Queen, which can accommodate 100 people, and is decorated with richly carved paneling and silver-hammered mirrors that reflect the glare of torches placed in brackets. The Traitor's Walk, portion of the enclosure connected to the lower court and the sacred grove, overlooking the estuary of the Blackwater. Also, the squat half-round tower that contains the entrance to the dungeons. The top floor holds the cells for the prisoners who were to be kept in a degree of comfort. The entrance to the dungeons sits on the ground floor of the tower, with the dungeons beneath the tower. Between the 2 prisons are rooms for the King's Justice, the Chief Gaoler, and the Lord Confessor. According to the instructions of Maegor the Cruel, there are 4 floors of jails under the castle. The upper level comprises cells large enough for all the common criminals. The second level down features smaller cells for prisoners of noble birth. The penultimate level is called the Black Cells, small dark rooms with wooden doors. The deepest level is the torture chambers. The Red Keep has a network of secret passages and tunnels. King Maegor had them built to enable him to make a quick escape should his enemies ever trap him. The tunnels are supposedly full of traps. Some tunnels are of stone, while others are earth supported by timbers. Some of them are so small that a grown man must crawl through them. Some pass very close to other rooms in the keep, allowing a hidden person to eavesdrop on conversations. Of course, there are many other houses in Crownlands, some of them barely known, some already extinct, some are facing extinction, and some are hiding in Essos, waiting for their turn to strike. and deserve a separate story. Thank you for the attention. See ya!